So let me introduce our next speaker. Her name is Jennifer Gibbs, and she is a certified leadership coach and a corporate executive turned full-time entrepreneur and a nonprofit board chair. To all of these roles, she brings 25 years of leadership experience in technology, data, analytics, and banking, with over 10 years spent in executive level positions. So Jennifer has founded and sponsored several communities supporting the inclusion and advancement of women in technology field. And most recently, she has founded a Women in Data and Analytics community at the TD Bank. Jennifer provides a coaching experience that empowers the client to navigate their career with encouragement and confidence, enabling them to become an extraordinary leader. So she is offering a personalized, purpose-driven coaching workshops rooted in client empowerment, wellness, and hard-won perspective. So today we are welcoming Jennifer Gibson to our WAI talk, and I will be posting her email address and then website details as well in the chat. So I'm giving up to the Jennifer to take over.
Thank you so much. First of all, I am incredibly excited to be here for a number of reasons. First, whenever women get together, powerful things happen. Second, this is a group of powerful women in data and analytics and AI. And having spent many years in that space and not currently practicing in that space, but having spent many years in that space, I understand the importance of supporting each other and making sure that we grow our diverse leadership in this space. And then last but not least, it was a beautiful reason for me to wear my sparkle shirt, which everyone should have. And if you can't read it, it says Data Geek. So proud to be a fellow data geek with all of you. I'm also super, super excited to talk about extraordinary leadership and also to suggest to all of you up front, if you're not already aware of it, every single one of you is a leader. Leadership is not about title. It is a decision. It is a choice. It is available. And all of us here are leaders and all of us here are extraordinary. So today I'm super excited to talk more about that with you. Also want to give you all a heads up. I think one of the most powerful ways for each of us to grow and to learn is when we share our stories. And sharing our stories, no matter who we are, no matter how senior we are in the organization, can feel really vulnerable. So it was an absolute privilege to listen to Zanul and learn and grow from her as such an extraordinary, authentic leader. So hope you all enjoyed that. And I just want to again offer that all of you are also extraordinary and leaders. So I'm going to focus on a couple of things today. We've got, I'm going to be really punchy with the topics today, given the amount of time we have, but I am going to reconnect all of you with two things that I think are foundational resources for leaders, for strong, sustainable leadership. And these will be two things that we don't talk about and that I wish I had learned early on in my career rather than 20 years into my career. So we're going to talk about that, reconnect you to those two resources. And I want to expand and explore your beliefs about leadership and about yourself. So as I mentioned, sharing with each other is the most powerful way for us to learn and grow. So I am going to encourage all of you to share in the chat throughout. And if you're feeling a little bit nervous about it, do it anyway, find the courage. I'm not going to ask anything too difficult. And in fact, I'm going to get you all warmed up by asking you what I hope is a pretty easy question, which is just share with us a TV series that is one of your favorite TV series. Just share in the chat, get yourself warmed up in the chat. I will share with you that I have a lot. I don't watch a lot of TV, but when I pick a good TV series, I watch them a lot. Bridgerton, amazing. Schitt's Creek, Canadian and amazing. I like The Crown. I'm seeing Ozark here, Friends, House of Cards, Bewitched, love that. New Amsterdam, This Is Us. This is some examples too. If you're wondering like what to check out, you can check out some of these favorites from your fellow data geeks here. So thank you for everyone for sharing. So now that we've got all of you warmed up, I'm going to get us to the next topic here. And just give me a moment to share my screen. Okay, perfect. Everyone see that all right? All right. I want everyone to think about an example of a foundational resource that is needed by all strong leaders. A foundational resource. And let me point out a foundational resource. I use the word foundation on purpose because they're different. These are resources, if you don't maintain them and nurture them, they can start to crack it. You can start to crack and weaken all kinds of other resources. Over time, we often take these sort of foundational resources for granted until we can't any longer. So any examples that come to you about a foundational resource needed by strong leaders? Who's got the courage to throw, there's no wrong answers here. Resilience, love it. Persistence, communication, empathy, confidence, love it. Network, amazing. Thank you for sharing. Empathy. Many of these touch on the two that I'm going to introduce to you next. And again, these are not often discussed, but they are essential for strong, sustainable leadership. And the good news is that every single one of us on this call have these two resources. All right, we're ready to get into it. The first is your body. And your body, among other things, is the vessel for all of your energy. Your energy is your fuel. It fuels all your actions, and your actions are what creates your results. So absolutely foundational. And I want to offer you this. Your body is your greatest teacher. Are you listening, learning, and responding to it? Now, most of us understand this concept in terms of our physical energy. So are you tired? Are you not feeling well? Are you hungry? What I'm suggesting here is that paying attention to what your body needs is just as important to your success as a leader as spending time building that model, creating a strategy, or creating a business case. So get that drink when you're thirsty, and make sure that you get up and stretch when your body feels stiff. And also make sure you head to the bathroom when you have to go pee. And I would bet most of you at one point or another are not listening, learning, or responding to those body cues. It may sound simple, but again, those daily habits matter and they contribute to your success as a leader. Now let's talk about the other kind of energy that's stored in your body, which is emotional energy. Some of us might be aware of our emotional energy, but few of us have been taught how to process that energy and to honor it. So why is your emotional energy so critical? Your emotions are what cause you to do everything you do. We do everything that we choose to do because of a need and a desire to either feel a certain way or not feel a certain way. For example, we want to get promoted so we can feel accomplished or proud. We sometimes avoid risks because we want to avoid the feeling of, let's say, shame if we fail at what we're trying to do. So again, your emotions and your emotional energy is really the catalyst and the thing that we're pursuing. We think we're pursuing all the things, but we're really pursuing that experience, that embodiment of that emotional energy. So let's start to dive in and get to know our emotional energy a little bit more, because this is something we don't practice very often. So dare to share emotions you commonly experience at work. What are some emotions you most commonly experience at work? So for me, I'm building a business, so I'm very excited about that. I feel very excited, very curious. I also feel a lot of fear. I've not done this before. This is new. So the fear is definitely coming up, and I think it's a great indicator that I'm growing. Anxiety, thank you for sharing. Other emotions you commonly experience at work. Anyone else want to share? Stress, curiosity. Thank you. Now think about when you're in a meeting and you are feeling anxious. Our emotions also impact how we and others experience our actions. So if you come into a meeting, you're feeling anxious compared to when you come into a meeting and you feel excited. How might this awareness of your emotional energy increase your ability to be more intentional in that meeting? So let's check in with our body again. So an emotion that you hate experiencing in your body. You do not like it. It comes, you want to resist it, you want to reject it, you do not like it. Anxiety, very common. Stress. The emotion that I would use the word hate around for me is shame. Do not like the way shame feels in my body. And I'll just share with you a little bit of a trick. And that is when you're experiencing an emotion that you know you don't like, try to build a new relationship with that emotion. So for me, for shame, I've kind of decided, okay, when I'm feeling shame, it's a trigger. My body is telling me I'm hitting myself in the face. The shame is usually coming because think I'm bad. I've done something wrong. I've embarrassed myself, whatever it is. So I try to create a different relationship with some of these emotions that I'm experiencing in my body. Dare to share an emotion you love experiencing in your body that feels amazing in your body. What might that be? An emotion you love experiencing in your body. Share in the chat. So for me, I love experiencing love. I love experiencing wonder and possibility and freedom and joy, deep concentration and understanding. Love that. Freedom, happiness, pride, great sharing. Amazing. Thank you so much. So again, keeping track of those triggers in your body allows you to be more intentional as a leader when you show up, when you embrace your humanity and how you're experiencing your day or meeting. You can be more intentional about how you share that energy with others or how it gets presented to others in a meeting. So really, really important. So before I move to the next foundational resource versus body, I want to ask folks your opinion. Are you the thinker or the thought? Are you the thinker or the thought? Just write one of them in. Are you the thinker or the thought? You're the thinker. Thought. Thinker. Oh, I see my client there. Hi, Laura. I knew you would say that answer. Both. All right. Let me suggest something for you here. Your next foundational resource is your brain. And it's not just for the obvious reasons. Obviously, our brain allows us to solve problems. It allows us to strategize. It allows us to create ideas. But one of the most fundamental things about your brain is it's actually the creator of your emotional energy. So we already talked about how important it is to be aware and intentional about your emotional energy. Well, your brain is what creates your emotional energy. So your thoughts create your emotions. Your beliefs are simply deeply embedded thoughts, and your thoughts are options. They're suggestions for consideration. So I'm going to suggest here that you choose them very wisely. And I'm also going to propose you are, in fact, the thinker, not the thought. And it's really important that we become the CEO of our brain. So I don't think it's a surprise to most people that to discover your thoughts impact how you feel, and they're very fundamental in the results you get in your life. However, I think there's a few myths to dispel that will help you be a better CEO of your brain. The first is we think our circumstances trigger our emotions. We are not stressed because we missed a deadline. We are stressed because we think it's a problem that we missed our deadline. It's very different. We don't recognize our thoughts as optional, especially if those thoughts are beliefs. We do not see the world as it is. We see it through the lens of our beliefs. It's actually less interesting to debate whether your thought is true or not. It's much more interesting to ask yourself, is this thought useful? Is this thought helping me to create the results I want in my life? And if not, do I want to keep it? The last thing I've already mentioned is we let our brains boss us around. Now, your brain is not built to be the boss of you. It's actually obsessed with your survival, and it's been programmed from ages and ages ago. So its concept of survival is very, very different than the reality that we live in, that most of us live in today. Your brain also does not like uncertainty, which is the place you need to live if you want to grow as a leader. And without context from you, it thinks all uncertainty could be deadly. So your brain is also extremely efficient. It will always try the path of least resistance, and what it knows from your past is where it'll draw from. Now, you are the thinker. So you are the CEO of your brain and your life and your emotional experiences. And knowing this and believing this creates an incredible sense of empowerment for you. Now, your brain is, what I like to think of it, is your most brilliant, well-intended, and loyal personal assistants that you will ever have. So I encourage you all, lead your brain with purpose and intention and gratitude so that it can serve you and your goals. So these are some of the ways that we let our brain boss us around, or we don't quite take that power back and own the place of the role of being the CEO of our brain. And some of these are very common unhelpful thoughts that I find we all have. The first is, I don't know. So we're trying to do something different and I don't know how to do this. I don't know what I want. I don't know. And it often leaves us feeling confused and spinning. It does not help us understand. The first part about becoming the CEO of your brain is being very aware of what your brain is offering you. I don't know often is not a super helpful thought for most people. And then when you become aware of these thoughts, you can start to get curious. Well, what if you did know? And then your brain will be like, oh, okay, if you want me to figure out what if I did know, I'm going to go figure that out. So another contrary thought to the I don't know thought is, I'm figuring this out. And then again, you're instructing your brain to go figure it out versus keeping yourself stuck and spinning. I'm so busy, super common, super common. Please be aware of how often you're telling yourself this. It often creates that stress that many of you have experienced, or that overwhelm. And again, I would offer you to be curiosity. What if you're not so busy? What if you just have a full day? What if you get to decide exactly what you want to do each day all the time? How would you then feel about your day and the things that are on it? I'm not doing it right, or I'm not doing enough. This I'm not doing enough is my absolute most go-to thought my brain offers me, creates anxiety for me. But that anxiety is very mild now because I'm aware of the thought and I'm able to question it. What does it even mean to do enough? How do I measure what right is or wrong is or enoughness is? Start to get curious. The last one is when you start shoulding yourself, and should or shouldn't generally feels pretty terrible. We either feel guilty, or we feel anxious, or we feel regret. I would say get curious whenever you're using the word should or shouldn't, and ask yourself a more powerful question like, I want to, I can, I will. Much, much more powerful than the should or shouldn'ts, which generally feel pretty terrible. So now that we've reconnected with our body and our brain, I want to reflect a little bit more with all of you on what it means to be an extraordinary leader. And I've got another dare to share with you. So dare to share a characteristic of extraordinary leaders. A characteristic of extraordinary leaders from your perspective. Any thoughts? Get that chat going. We're all more powerful when we share our stories. They care about themselves and others. Love it. Listener, empathy. Amazing. Any other thoughts? A characteristic, understanding. Vulnerable, wise. Love it. Growth mindset. So let me share with you kind of how I think about extraordinary leaders. Risk-taking, integrity, amazing. So I'll explain this one a little bit because it might not have been what you are expecting. So if you think about the word extraordinary, it implies not ordinary. It implies something other than ordinary, other than common, other than average. It is something else. It is something beyond ordinary. And I love this phrase, you are weird, I like you. I actually got it from my daughter's sweatshirt several years ago when she was younger. She bought a sweatshirt. It was black with white writing and it said, "You are weird. I like you." And she wanted to buy it. And I just fell in love with this phrase because it really is about embracing uniqueness and embracing being different. And for many of us in roles like AI and data and tech, as a woman, we often are unique in some ways. I mean, I've spent many, many meetings being the only woman in the room. There's probably many of you not only being the only woman in the room, but the only person of color in the room. And there's also, many times where we just might be the one asking a question that no one else is asking, and it feels vulnerable. But it also is part of what makes you extraordinary, is when you have something unique to offer. And so I would suggest that weirdness or difference or uniqueness is actually something that we can and should all embrace, and is in fact an important characteristic of an extraordinary leader. The other things I would suggest is, extraordinary leaders, and, Zanul, in just the short time we were able to experience her story and have her share with us, I think exhibited all three of these characteristics just by being her and being who she is, being ready to give, being open to receive, and having beliefs that empower not only yourself, but others around you. These three are incredibly important if you want to build a career as a leader that is sustainable and successful. So I'll ask you all, you don't have to put this in the chat, but what do you believe about yourself, about your team, your goals, and what's possible? Are those empowering beliefs or not? Do you want to change them? And be honest with yourself about those beliefs. Really dive in and reflect. This is fundamentally what is going to impact the way you experience not only your current job, but your career and your personal life, as to be fair as well. So a couple of questions again to reflect on in addition to that about what you believe in yourself. I want you to think about those things about you that are unique, that you think are a problem. Be honest. What are those things about you that you think you're a problem? And you don't need to share this in the chat unless you would like to. I would like you to start to reflect on those unique things and ask yourself, what if this was my superpower? How could this be a superpower for me rather than it be a problem? So I invite you to actually explore this a little bit more specifically next. Okay, this is a dare to share, so I encourage you all to put it in the chat. One thing about you that is extraordinary. Own it, share it. We all learn and grow. One thing that I think is extraordinary about myself is I am a super connector. I am somebody who can connect thoughts and disparate information and make it make sense to myself and others. I also am a super connector of humans. I have a way of bringing amazing people to me and bringing amazing people to each other. So that's something I will share. Anything else? You all, accountability. Okay, I'm seeing a bunch of questions in the chat. Anyone else can get the best out of people? One thing about you that is extraordinary. I am creative. Amazing. If you can't answer that question very quickly, definitely an area where you want to take some time to reflect. I create order where chaos is. Love it. Amazing. All right, let's talk more about you. Beliefs about yourself. Now, I want to offer that your story matters. All of your story matters. And Zanul made a comment that I just thought, she made lots of comments that were amazing, but one of it was, I know what I bring to the table. That is so powerful. I know what I bring to the table. How many of us can say that that we know what we bring to the table and that what we say feels powerful to us? I want you to think about your story. How do you talk to yourself about yourself? Are you paying attention to the story you tell yourself? Are your self-beliefs giving you wings to soar or weights to carry? Now, many of us achieve, including myself for many years, despite having a barrage of thoughts that are actually just creating more and more weights for me to carry. This is not sustainable. And so we really need to be stepping back and thinking about that story and rewriting it in a way that's empowering and continuing to create it. And I think, becoming unshakable in your self-belief is such a beautiful practice to have in both your professional and your personal life. And you'll know whether you're becoming unshakable in your self-belief when the opinions of others no longer create huge shifts in your emotional energy. When the opinions of others no longer create huge shifts in your emotional energy, you are becoming more and more unshakable in your self-belief. And a huge shift could include, I get a compliment and I'm over the moon. Or I get a criticism and I'm super low for a really, really long time. Both the highs and the lows are examples of huge shifts that you get versus, being able to have a center of, I know who I am and I know what I bring to the table. And if somebody else has an opinion of me, I can be curious about that. It doesn't have to knock me off my game completely. So becoming unshakable. So I recommend everyone work on what I call their power story. And I have a blog on my website that talks about how you can craft this power story. But I think it's really important that you adopt this as a practice and you start to get really curious and intentional about your power story. Now, I already mentioned this at the beginning, but I believe it is a fact that we are all extraordinary. It is a decision and a practice to open ourselves up to seeing our extraordinary and embracing our extraordinary. Okay, I have a final challenge for all of you, and then I think we'll have a little bit of time for questions. Getting back to the resources, the core leadership resources that we often don't talk about. This is a very simple daily practice that it can help you just make sure that you're paying attention to your brain and your body. And you can create a timer at a certain time during the day or before you go into an important meeting. You can do this reflection really quickly and just kind of get yourself centered and aware of where your emotional energy is, how your body and how your mind are, and what kind of state they're in. And I call it a daily awareness practice. It starts with name the feeling. How are you feeling right now? If you ask yourself how you're feeling, what comes up? Like for me right now, I'm feeling energized. Find the thought. There's always a thought creating that emotional energy. So what is it you're thinking? Maybe you're feeling anxious. Spend some time and say, what is it really that's creating the anxiety? Is it the thought that they might not know what I have to say? Is it the thought I might screw this up? And then start to get curious about that thought. Why am I choosing to think it? Is it helpful? Do I want to keep it? And then I think this is an interesting question to ask ourselves is, what would compassion say to me now? So let's say you're feeling shame. And you say, what would compassion say to me now? It will help open your mind up to a different way of thinking about the situation that you're in, or courage, or love, or name the emotion that you want to bring in to give yourself a different perspective on your emotional energy and your emotional state in that moment. That is very easy. I recommend it. This is a beautiful habit to get yourself into, to tap into those resources. And lastly, you may want to take a snapshot of this. Just some mind-opening resources. I found all of these podcasts and books and the way in which I write my blog and my Instagram posts, just ways for you to start to reimagine how you can think about your situation and reimagine the way society typically thinks about certain things, whether they're leadership or motherhood or you name it. So I do recommend, these have been very, very helpful for me. So it's been an absolute pleasure being able to share energy with all of you today. I'm going to stop sharing and see if we have a couple minutes for questions.
Thank you, Jennifer. That's an awesome, actually brilliant to hear something. It's different than we used to hear about what is a leadership coaching. It's all about yourself. You create yourself. So if you don't have a canvas, that is our body. that we cannot create anything. So we need to care ourselves first. And I also think a lot of other topics as well, neuroplasticity, that's something that you touched on, your body, your brain. Make sure that you tell the story to yourself, that you own it. Something amazing, I should have came across you long ago, but something that not a lot of people really opened about, talk about. They only talk about result oriented, leadership has to be this and that. No, something I think you have really good, very, very good substance, and I think I'm going to check out your your blog as well to see that. Amazing. So I'm going to let see if audience have any questions. I think one of them. So she has this question, Sweta Sharma. I want to start my own small business as a mindset coach. How do you think I need to build on as a person?
So I think this is a great question, and I think applicable to everyone on this call is, one of the most important things about coaching is the ability to coach yourself. And so, a lot of my experience as a coach has been through my own personal journey, coaching myself, building my own self-belief, showing up as a leader, terrified and being courageous and doing it anyway. And so a lot of it is about lived experiences and being very aware and intentional, as I said, about what you're thinking and being able to offer that to folks. Now, for me too, although I didn't get certified, I got officially certified as a coach a few years ago. I have been coaching and mentoring people for many years. I've always loved it. I've always prioritized it. So over time, I've just pulled in different tools that I've learned from others, that I've learned from inspiring people around me, and that I've learned, formally through coach training. So I would say the idea of becoming a coach is something that we can all embody. Whether you want to run it as a business or not, it's really important to be self-coaching and to also look for opportunities to just volunteer and help and support other people.
Thank you, Jennifer. And if any others have questions, please do. And I think your approach is amazing. You're looking at a holistic perspective, looking all 360 degree of, how you develop yourself as a human being, and then you can think about developing a leader. So since your experience with the corporate, your background is the 25 years of experience, that's what made you to realize what is the right thing to do, and you will be a huge help for a lot of people. So there are a couple of questions coming. I'm just going to ask you, Serene, if I'm right, that's your name. So how to deal with the shame someone might feel when not knowing the right answer, especially when it's considered being a simple or basic knowledge?
Yeah, this is a fantastic question. And I love how this actually was captured in Zanul's talk too earlier, where she said, well, I don't know all the answers. If I was expecting myself to know all the answers, I would fail every time. That's why you surround yourself with people who know the answer. But specifically when you talk about dealing with shame, I think, and I already mentioned this to everyone, I do not like feeling shame, is to accept it, understand, okay, I'm feeling shame. It's not going to kill me. What is it trying to tell me right now? And then, once you allow yourself to just be in it and understand it, ask yourself, what am I making this mean about me? What am I making it mean about me that I don't know the answer to this question? I could make it mean, wow, this is a great opportunity for me to learn. I could be making it mean, of course, I don't know this question. I'm human. Or, it's really about our thoughts about the lack of an answer than it is the lack of the answer. So starting to get curious about, what am I making this mean about me just because I couldn't answer that question? And then you get to decide what you want to make it mean. Nobody else gets to decide. Even if someone offers you the thought that it was stupid, that you didn't know the answer, you do not have to open yourself to that thought. You get to decide what you want to make it mean, and you get to decide with intention in a way that serves you and is useful to you, versus it just, again, is it adding a weight for you to carry, or is it creating stronger wings for you to soar? So those are the things I would say, is sit with the shame, allow it to be there, and really get honest with yourself. But what am I making it mean about myself? And what else could it possibly mean that isn't so terrible as what I'm making it mean right now? I hope that helps. Very common.
So we are in a world right now with the validation, like, someone has to validate who we are. I think, like you said, it's more about believing yourself. Nobody needs to tell us. We have to stand for ourselves, think what is best for ourselves.
Yeah, and I'll just offer the most insidious thing that, we as women really need to understand is, we need to take ownership of what we're allowing ourselves to believe about ourselves, because the world and the messaging is going to offer us all kinds of stuff. And when we start to believe it, that's when we start to disempower ourselves. It's that choice and decision. And that's where the work starts. It starts from inside of us. Then hopefully we can start to help influence, getting less and less of these things that, maybe aren't so helpful for us to hear.
Absolutely. Audience, take a note of the last piece that Jennifer has mentioned. And take ownership of yourself. Feel what is right for you, not others tell you. So I think that's a catch line there. So we have a couple of questions there as well. So one of them is, how would one know that they are ready to take on a leadership role?
So I would like you to answer that question yourself. How would you know? What if you just decide you are? What if you decide you're ready and you're going to do what it takes to go get one? And again, notice you're all leaders. If you're a data scientist right now and you have nobody working for you, you are a leader. You are the CEO of that data scientist position. That is who you are. It's a decision you get to make. How will you know? You'll know when you decide, and then you'll go after it. You don't need anyone else's permission. Just you do need your own permission.
Awesome. I think that's the end of the question. There's one more question. Any place or recommended where I can certify learning coach ethics or methodologies?
I'll just share that I got certified at the Life Coach School. There's many different schools that you can get certified on. The reason I got certified there is because my coach was certified there, and the tools she worked changed my life in 2 months. And so I went to the same school that they had tools and positioning of coaching that worked phenomenally well for me. And that really, really resonated with me. So that's what I know best, because that's what I pursued.
I think that's the end of the questions for us, Jennifer. Thank you so much. Audience, if you want to like to get in touch with her, please visit her website, www.jennifergibbscoaching.com. And you can also find her on LinkedIn as well. I think she's welcome to accept your request. I hope so. So that's about it.
Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn too.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Jennifer. So now we have come to the end of this event. I know it's a great amount of information. I'm sure we all learned a great tips and lesson. I really like the end of the sessions with Jennifer as well. It's like a real time, like what we need, and not something that superficial, something we holistically need to understand as a human being. And like she said, all of us are leaders in some or the other way. So we have to consider ourselves that and move forward. So the purpose of this event is to help you learn about different leadership styles, which will prepare you to reach your dream goal. So having said that, I have no doubt that you all are pumped up and ready to take the challenge and succeed. So my sincere thanks to our speaker, Jennifer Gibbs, and Zainul Maudi, she's not there. So for taking the time out for your busy schedule to engage with us this afternoon and share your knowledge. And also, I would like to thank Princey Clayman for all your great support in making this event happen. So last but not least, a huge thanks to our engaging audience. I loved it, the way they interacted, and our members for your continued support. And we're looking forward to more and more events to host for you. So hoping you had an interesting time. This is it. I wish you all the success. Stay safe and stay healthy. And please do keep in touch with us by subscribing to our LinkedIn channel and for future updates. So thank you very much and have a great day.